So we know Caitlin Clark is a hooper at heart, a true hoop head and loves playing and loves the game and all that. She's also a big time sports fan in general. It's just in her DNA. And that's really come out when she's been a guest on New Heights, where she's talked football. I mean, remember last year that quiz she passed that really blew them away? And then this year they talked a lot of NFL, including the specific colorway that she might have with her Nike signature shoe on the way. She says she's going to have, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs variation. Clark, a big Chiefs fan. She's been a Chiefs fan before her connection with Travis Kelce, even if that specific...
When Caitlin Clark made a casual comment about her rival team, the internet erupted into a firestorm of personal attacks and vitriol far beyond the bounds of normal fan banter. The intensity of the backlash was shocking, illustrating a climate so volatile that many wondered if any athlete, no matter how iconic, could survive such relentless public scrutiny without facing an unprecedented, almost institutional ban from public grace. We know that Caitlin Clark is a hooper at heart, a huge sports fan. This unrelenting pressure, a crushing weight of expectation and outrage, started to make people wonder about the future, who could survive, and what extreme actions, like resigning from positions of power, might be required to survive in this new harsh environment of condemnation and celebrity.
There you have it. And that was one of the football references that came out. But then there was specific football talk, including a player she's a fan of in the league right now, and that being the quarterback of the New England Patriots, who's sort of taken the NFL by storm, gotten himself a lot of MVP love.
Yeah, obviously. Sure. Honestly, I'm a Drake May fan. I think he's been incredible, and I think the Patriots are. What is it? The NFC they're all so good. The Niners are really good, but they're the most injured team, but they just still find a way to win, which is pretty crazy.
Very impressive.
I'll probably be
Given her ardent affinity for the Kansas City Chiefs, the athlete in issue, Caitlin Clark, a real hoop head and sports enthusiast, merely voiced her distaste for the Buffalo Bills. This was neither a declaration of war nor a statement of policy. It was an insensitive fan opinion, the kind of fervent, frequently tribal feeling that characterizes major sports fandom. However, the online backlash went beyond simple mockery and turned into a targeted campaign of disparaging remarks and unfounded allegations, exposing a troubling double standard in the treatment of public personalities. A norm that turns any kind of open communication into a dangerous risk.
They're all so good. The Niners are really good, but they're the most injured team, but they just still find a way to win, which is pretty crazy.
Very impressive.
I'll probably be pulling for the Patriots, but I think the Rams are really good too. Sam Darnold seems like a good guy, so I could root for him too. But
I'm about to say I could root for all of them. You already know.
But there's one team that she won't be rooting for, and that is the Buffalo Bills, which she made very clear in one other clip from the show.
Buffalo Bills. Yeah.
You're a big Bills fan. Yeah. I know that, right?
I hate the
Bills. Think early Josh Allen era. Buffalo.
I hate the Bills.
Prior to her relationship with Travis Kelce, Clark had a well-established bond with the Chiefs. For her next Nike signature shoe, she even has a Kansas City Chiefs edition planned. An obvious indication of her loyalty. She is more than a mere bystander. She is passionate about the game. This genuine involvement, which ought to be praised, instead turns into a weakness that leaves her vulnerable to assaults when her personal preferences don't coincide with those of every vociferous online community, fostering an atmosphere that is conducive to faked indignation and career danger. Her real passion for football was evident during her appearance on New Heights, where she amazed the hosts with her NFL knowledge and even passed a challenging football question. She freely expressed her appreciation for New England Patriots quarterback M. Jones throughout these open discussions, complimenting his play despite the team's difficulties. In an age of media-trained athletes, this transparency is a welcome exhibition of personality, but ironically, it serves as fodder for the same internet mobs that seem to want to outlaw any true and censored expression from public people. The remark about detesting the Bills in particular was made in the midst of this fervent fan debate. But it let out a flood of poison. The infamously fervent Buffalo Bills fan base, known as the Mafia, swiftly organized and flooded comment sections with hostile, frequently intensely personal assaults. A troubling trend is highlighted by the fast and disproportionate criticism for a minor sports rivalry. The use of internet platforms as a tool to penalize or suppress people for even the most insignificant viewpoints raises the possibility of a wider loss of civility in sports conversation. An observer pointed out the sharp contrast between this incident and the actions of NFL fans during a Giants-Cowboys game. Even extremely rude remarks are frequently written aside as a normal aspect of sports in the NFL, just background noise in the midst of an intense fanaticism. However, the same degree of talk aimed at WNBA players may result in emergency press conferences and widespread condemnation, pointing to a stark disparity in how athletes are treated and what constitutes appropriate fan behavior, particularly when Clark is involved. The ease with which indignation is stoked around WNBA players makes this double standard even more obvious. A single derogatory remark about practically any other player is instantly magnified and taken to be representative of the whole fanbase, which feeds hate speech and unjust criticism. However, there is a deafening hush when Caitlin Clark is the target of a never-ending onslaught of derogatory remarks, ridicule, and unfounded attacks that frequently target her physical beauty. Nobody jumps to her defense. This irony is made clear in the transcript. Nobody seems to care what is said about Caitlin Clark. This glaring lack of support and this silent acceptance of the constant criticism aimed at her set a risky precedent. She is particularly exposed to a level of scrutiny that few public figures are compelled to face without institutional support, since it implies an implicit restriction on defending her and a collective resignation from confronting the online toxicity that targets her especially. It was astounding how much hate speech there was on the internet, including extremely hurtful remarks that went beyond lighthearted sports jokes. Although the speaker decided not to emphasize the most horrible remarks, their presence highlights how severe the backlash is. It was more than lighthearted taunting. It was a deliberate attack on her appearance and personality. The kind of personal assault that, if it were aimed at other people, would prompt swift and broad criticism from all quarters of the sports world, implying a very unfair workplace. Clark is not the only one who has had this experience. LeBron James and other prominent athletes frequently encounter hateful comments on social media. With its enormous fan base, the NFL is inundated with hate speech and outrageous remarks made online. The reaction to this negativity, however, is where the main distinction is found. Clark sees the hate on the internet as more than simply background sound. It's a focal point that is exaggerated and frequently ignored, fostering an environment where a single remark can set off waves of public displeasure that could endanger one's career. One of Clark's purported abilities is her capacity to disregard the hate speech on the internet. She either brushes it off or ignores it. Even while this mental toughness is impressive, the system nonetheless has an obligation to provide a respectful environment. Although impressive, her perseverance shouldn't be a must for success in professional sports. Additionally, it shouldn't be used as a justification for the lack of protection she gets in the face of such excessive insults, raising the possibility that she will resign. To ongoing mistreatment. With much higher attention and attendance, the WNBA has entered a new era as a big girl league. A broader spectrum of supporters, including yahoos and the foolishness that permeates other big sports, unavoidably accompany this rise in popularity. Although this shift is beneficial for the league's expansion, it also exposes its stars, Clark in particular, to the same heated, frequently toxic internet discourse that has long afflicted traditional male-dominated sports, exposing a new level of difficulties for its most prominent players. Because more individuals are typing online due to the rise in WNBA fans, every comment and response is amplified. Although the great majority of new because of the vast volume, even a small percentage of unfavorable comments might give the appearance that there is widespread enmity, even while supporters are not cruel. It is quite challenging to discern between sincere criticism and performative anger due to the exponential growth of internet noise, which contributes to a fragile atmosphere where public opinion can change drastically at any time. The claim that online comment sections are evidence of widespread hatred among new admirers is directly refuted by the speaker. In comparison to the entire audience that watches, likes, and subscribes, very few people actually leave comments on the internet. It is a faulty approach to rely on comment sections to accurately reflect fan feeling. However, it's a story that is frequently promoted to condemn larger fan bases or to defend the targeting of certain people, further muddying public conversation and fostering a false feeling of unanimity. In actuality, the majority of followers are merely observing and offering their support rather than participating in hateful internet discussions. Only a small portion of the total fan base is found online, particularly on sites like X. That is significantly less than the amount that really posts or anything. This important distinction is frequently overlooked, allowing a vociferous minority to control the perceived narrative, affecting public opinion, and placing unnecessary pressure on sportsmen like Clark, whose every move is examined under a microscope, frequently skewed perspective. Athletes are essentially prohibited from expressing genuine thoughts or personalities without fear of severe professional ramifications as a result of this focused online hostility. The swift escalation of the narrative, which could affect endorsements, public perception, and even team dynamics, is demonstrated by the immediate personal attacks for a harmless remark about an NFL club. This degree of scrutiny is significantly more intense than typical athletic pressure, endangering sideline careers due to insignificant errors. Resignation becomes a real concern due to the ongoing onslaught of unanswered insults and the absence of popular support for Clark. Individual, but for the integrity of leadership in athletics. Coaches, team executives, and league officials are under tremendous pressure to either address the toxicity or risk being perceived as complacent, which may force them to make difficult decisions about their own roles. When an environment of unchecked online abuse is allowed to fester around a league's biggest star, it implicitly condones such behavior. A clear reminder of the particular difficulties Clark faces is provided by the Bills' blowback episode. It exemplifies the vulnerability of an athlete's public image in the digital age by showing how a harmless remark may turn into a controversy. This continuous drama in which a famous athlete experiences disproportionate online assaults with minimal public defense produces a high-stakes atmosphere where every move is scrutinized, every remark is examined, and there is always a chance of professional repercussions. There is an obvious implication. The same degree of unchecked and frequently magnified internet hate speech directed at Clark is the kind of setting that might easily lead to much worse outcomes. Athletes and those in charge of their well-being are put under tremendous stress when even insignificant fan remarks result in personal attacks and widespread condemnation, setting a precedent for how rapidly events may spin out of hand, suggesting a persistent danger of severe professional prohibitions or forced resignations as a result of unbridled public pressure. A crucial crossroads in sports culture is highlighted by the unrelenting online scrutiny and the obvious double standards applied to Caitlin Clark. A dangerous precedent is revealed by this atmosphere of undue outrage and the lack of protection she receives for personal insults, even for expressing simple fandom. It's a world where genuine support can be overshadowed by the cacophony of a vocal minority, producing an atmosphere so highly pressured that it constantly raises the possibility of terrible resignations or enormous professional bans. Not because of real wrongdoings, but rather because of the unsupportable weight of public opinion.